Ever get that feeling, like you see a product and it's like, wow, this is it. This is going to change everything. And then nothing. It just kind of disappears like it never even happened.
Oh, yeah, totally. Those inventions that seem so brilliant, so innovative,
Mm-hmm.
but then they just miss the mark.
Exactly. Like what went wrong? And that's what we're diving into today. A product that promised a revolution in juicing, but ended up, well, getting squeezed out of the market.
Yeah.
The Juicero.
Juicero, yeah. It really was a fascinating story. They had this idea, right? Imagine fresh, cold-pressed juice instantly. No mess, no fuss, just pure, healthy goodness ready to go.
So paint the picture for us. How was this whole Juicero system supposed to work? What was the user experience like?
Okay, so picture this.
Yeah.
The heart of the operation was this sleek, kind of futuristic-looking machine, the Juicero press.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the catch. It wasn't your typical juicer. It was designed to work exclusively with these pre-packaged juice pouches from Juicero.
No. So no tossing in your own fruits and veggies from the market.
Nope, not with this one. They had their own special pouches filled with pre-chopped produce, all ready to go.
Interesting. So you pop in one of these pouches, and what happens next?
It was all about ease of use. You just insert the pouch, and the machine used this cold press mechanism, right, to extract all that delicious juice. And that was the big selling point. Pure, fresh juice with zero hassle. No chopping, no cleanup. They wanted to make juicing as simple and convenient as possible.
And there was a tech angle to all of this too, wasn't there? I vaguely remember something about QR codes and did it need to be connected to the internet or something?
You're remembering right. Each pouch, it had a QR code on it. And the Juicero press, it had a scanner built right in. So before it would juice anything, it would scan the code to make sure you were using a genuine Juicero pouch, one that wasn't expired.
Like a security check for your juice.
Exactly. And yeah, it needed Wi-Fi to work. That was partly for the security thing, to make sure you weren't using some knockoff pouches, and partly to connect to their system, track usage data and all that. It was a pretty high-tech juicer.
So it was like this whole ecosystem, this closed loop of Juicero products and technology.
Yeah.
But as we all know, things didn't quite go as planned. What were the main factors that led to Juicero's downfall? The article we're looking at, Juicero, a case study in Misunderstanding Market Demand by Manoj Fagar, really breaks it down. And the first big hurdle seems to have been the price, right?
Oh, yeah. The price was definitely a stumbling block for a lot of people. I mean, think about it. When it first launched, the Juicero press was going for almost $700.
$700 for a juicer.
I know, right? It was pretty steep. They did eventually drop the price to $400. But even then, it was still a lot to ask.
Yeah.
Especially when you consider, well, we'll get to that in a minute.
Okay, so you've got this expensive machine, but it didn't stop there, did it? There was also the cost of the juice pouches themselves, which, if I remember correctly, weren't exactly cheap either.
Right. And they operated on a subscription model. So you were constantly having to buy more pouches to keep the juice flowing. It was definitely a commitment, financially speaking.
So you're looking at this big upfront cost for the machine, and then you're locked into this recurring expense for the pouches. That's a lot of money for juice, even if it is super fresh and convenient. But I think what really turned the tide for a lot of people, what made them start questioning the whole Juicero proposition, was that Bloomberg News report back in 2017.
Ah, yes, the infamous hand-squeezing revelation.
Yeah.
That was a game changer.
So for those who aren't familiar, remind us, what exactly did Bloomberg uncover?
Well, they basically did this experiment where they took the Juicero pouches and instead of putting them in the machine, they just squeezed them by hand.
Okay.
And they found that they could get pretty much the same amount of juice just by using their hands. No $400 machine needed.
Ouch. That had to sting for Juicero.
Oh, absolutely. It completely undermined their whole value proposition. Yeah. I mean, if you could achieve the same results with your bare hands, why would you even bother with the machine?
It really called into question what you were actually paying for. Was it convenience? Freshness? Or just this fancy high-tech experience that wasn't really necessary? And the article also touches on the idea of overengineering. It wasn't just the price, it was the whole, complexity of it all.
Yeah, Juicero really leaned into this image of being a cutting-edge tech company. But all the bells and whistles, the QR codes, the Wi-Fi, the proprietary pouches, it all just felt a little much,
Like they were trying too hard to be innovative, even if it didn't really make sense for the average person who just wanted a glass of juice.
Exactly. They were solving a problem that didn't really exist. People who wanted fresh juice, they already knew how to make it. They didn't need a complicated, internet-connected machine to do it for them.
And all those extra features, they probably contributed to the high price tag, too.
Oh, definitely. It's like they were adding complexity for the sake of complexity, and the consumer ended up footing the bill.
And then there was the whole closed system aspect, right? You were locked into using Juicero's pouches, their subscription service. What if you wanted to use your own produce?
Right, there was no flexibility. You were stuck in their ecosystem, whether you liked it or not. And that lack of freedom, it rubbed some people the wrong way.
And then, of course, there was the aftermath of the Bloomberg report. Once that news got out, once people realized they'd been paying hundreds of dollars for a machine they didn't really need, well, consumer trust went out the window, didn't it?
It was pretty much overnight. The story went viral. Social media exploded with memes and jokes. Late-night talk show hosts had a field day. Juicero became this symbol of, like, Silicon Valley excess, all style, no substance.
It's amazing how quickly public perception can shift, especially in the age of social media. One viral news story, and suddenly your brand is synonymous with, well, a glorified hand squeezer.
It's a cautionary tale about the importance of authenticity and transparency. You can't just hype your way to success. You have to deliver real value. And you have to be honest with your customers about what your product can and cannot do.
And the article points out that Juicero's demise was pretty swift. Within months of that Bloomberg report, they were shutting down operations, issuing refunds, the whole 9 yards. It really highlights how fragile a business can be, especially when it's built on, well, maybe a shaky foundation.
Exactly. So, stepping back from all of this, looking at the Juicero saga as a whole, what are the key takeaways here? What can startups and entrepreneurs learn from this cautionary tale?
I think one of the biggest lessons is the importance of truly understanding your target audience. Who are you trying to reach? What do they actually need? And are you actually solving a problem for them, or are you just creating a solution in search of a problem?
Right. Innovation for innovation's sake isn't enough. You have to create something that people actually want, something that makes their lives better in a meaningful way.
And closely tied to that is the importance of pricing your product appropriately. You can have the most amazing, innovative product in the world, but if it's priced out of reach for your target market, it's not going to succeed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You have to find that sweet spot where the price reflects the value you're offering and aligns with what your customers are willing to pay.
And then there's the whole issue of overengineering. Sometimes simpler is better. Don't try to cram in a bunch of unnecessary features just because you can. Focus on the core functionality, make it easy to use, and make it reliable.
Yeah, nobody wants to spend their time figuring out how to use a complicated machine, especially for something as simple as making juice. Make it intuitive, make it user-friendly.
And last but not least, transparency and trust are paramount. Be upfront with your customers about what your product can and can't do. Don't overpromise and underdeliver.
Honesty and authenticity go a long way in building a strong brand and a loyal customer base.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of Juicero, for those of you listening who are maybe thinking about launching your own product or even just evaluating a new product you're considering buying, what are some key questions you should be asking yourself?
Yeah, great question. I think the first thing is, does this product actually solve a problem for me? Does it make my life easier, better, more enjoyable in some way? Or is it just a novelty item that'll end up gathering dust in a drawer?
And then, of course, there's the question of price. Is the price justified by the value I'm getting?
And how easy is it to use? Do I have to jump through hoops to get it to work? Or is it intuitive and straightforward?
And what about the company behind the product? Do they have a good reputation? Are they transparent about their practices? These are all things to consider before you invest your hard-earned money in a new product.
And just to drive home one of the most striking points, a quick fact. Remember, in 2017, it came out that Juicero's $400 juicing machine could essentially be replaced by a pair of human hands. That says a lot, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that sometimes the simplest solution is the best solution. So, to sum it all up, understand your market, price your product fairly, keep it simple, and be honest. Those are the keys to success in today's competitive marketplace.
Absolutely. And on that note, here's a final thought to leave you with. If a company with as much funding and hype as Juicero could miss the mark so dramatically, what other seemingly brilliant innovations out there might be overlooking some fundamental aspect of the user experience? And how can we, as both consumers and creators, become more discerning, more aware of what truly constitutes value? Food for thought.
Definitely something to ponder. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the rise and fall of Juicero. It's a story that, despite its ultimate ending, offers some valuable lessons for all of us. Until next time.
See you then.